Hello and welcome into the Starters Podcast. I'm Dave. That's Simon and George. How's it going, boys?
I'm
David?
George.
You are George, in fact, and that is Simon over there. And guys, I have a doozy of a question for you today, based on the Habs Twitter sphere, X sphere. I don't know what you call it these days, but Hab fans and the Hab Reddit is buzzing a little bit these past few days because of the rumors surrounding a certain former Montreal Canadian. And I mean, it's not hard to examine why the rumors are making the round and how they make sense. But I just want to get your take on it. Of course, there has been some talk about Phillip Danault moving on from his situation in Los Angeles, and I just want to get your guys' take. Basically, would you be open to a Phillip Danault Montreal Canadian reunion this season?
Look, open to anything. So let's just call that the price for him is not something ridiculous, right? So it's fair market value for fair market value. Um, I think he can bring an element to the penalty kill. I don't know about the leadership part. Like Nick Suzuki's been around for a while now. Mike Matheson's been around for a while. Noah Dobson's had enough games in NHL. Brendan Gallagher's on this team. Jake Evans is on a contract number 3 or 4. Josh Anderson. So I get the part that it's the youngest team in the NHL, but there are guys who have some pretty good mileage on the club. My concern is this, and why I would pass on him is I think the struggle for goals for Gallagher is real, and Anderson and Evans. And I don't want to add, like, he's got 5 points this year in 20 something games, no goals. Now, the good thing is if you're a great GM, you're able to identify even one of your own roster players when they're past the point. Bill Belichick made a living of that. He knew how to get rid of a guy, what made him special. San Francisco 49ers back in the heyday, you get rid of a player when the year before the game turns on them, where Father Time finally takes the lead. I just don't know what he can add offensively. And to me, that's the biggest concern with the bottom six. Now, you get Laney back, you get Doc back. Does it add to that? You're hoping it does add to that. But if you're going to give up a roster spot and not get any offense out of it, does he make your team better? He doesn't make your team worse. But I'm looking for goals. When we talk about the players that can help this squad is guys that can, a little bit of playmaking ability, some scoring ability, guys that can finish just a little bit. The ultimate prize is, George has mentioned it so many times, is Sidney Crosby. We all know that. But it's not that we're in love with Sidney Crosby. We're in love with Sidney Crosby's offensive totals. I've always been like the Nazem Kadri, 1 year removed from a 30-goal season. The guy can find the back of the net. I think he can create more offense. Phillip Danault is a quality hockey player. I just don't know bringing another guy to fill another role on the bottom six who doesn't bring anything from the offensive side of the rink. And I think he may be struggling with the foot speed that this team plays at. So respectfully, I'm going to pass on Phillip Danault.
Fair enough, George.
So I'm on the same page as Simon. However, there is a caveat. If the Kings are willing to pick up half this contract, I'm willing to take a shot at Phil Danault as a fourth liner, because then the risk becomes almost nil. Given that he's making 5.5, he's 33 years old in February. The chances are Simon is correct and he's not going to just bounce back because he's going to come back to Montreal. However, at 2.5, 2.75, why not? I'm willing to take a shot. I think he can add something in the face-off circle. Defensively, he can do something. There's stuff that he can add to the team that maybe Joe Veleno can't, as an example. So am I comfortable with a $2.75 million risk on Phil Danault? Absolutely. I'm comfortable with it, even with 0 goals and 5 assists in 28 games. The chances, though, that this works out are not very good. That is the truth. Now, if there is no other choice and I need to roll the dice, I'll roll the Phil Danault dice and I'll see what happens. But as long as there's a better option out there, and I don't believe Joe Veleno is a better option than Phil Danault right now, I would not roll the dice. If there's no other option, 2.75, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't see the Kings doing that either, because at that point, you just keep him. Then I'll do it. But I mean, that's the only way. Phil Danault, I let him wear a Montreal Canadiens jersey, is I've got nothing else I can really bring, and the Kings are willing to eat half the salary. So long story short, not going to happen. Simon's right.
And it's he brings a lot of value, but he also brings up he takes up a roster spot. And if it goes great, sure, fantastic. But if it goes sideways, and then he's, do I want to see more of Davidson? I'm actually one of the guys that, I do want to see more of Davidson. I do want to see Florian Jacquet come up and get another look. For all the looks that Roy got, maybe these guys should get a little bit of looks. And I'd like to see this front office continue to look for offense. I think Phillip Danault, again, can help with the heavy lifting. But, you have Kapanen there, you have Demidov, you have Slav or Bolduc, depending on who your line is. And they're young, they're trying to figure out the game. And I don't want it to come at the expense of, okay, let's get Phil Danault his minutes. No, I don't need Phil Danault to get his minutes. He's not part of the big picture. I believe that this team is a playoff team this year. Even with the injuries and everything, I think they'll be there when it's all said and done. But I don't want to risk the development of Kapanen, bouncing him out of the center position to try to get Phil Danault going here. I'm watching Brendan Gallagher run around on a second unit PP. Are we going to have Phillip Danault running around on a second unit power play too? Because we need to get Phil Danault off the schneid. So I think there's the development of the young players this year have been really, really nice. Kapanen, Demidov, the totals are nice. Their play is nice. Their production is pretty good. I don't think they get owned out there. There's moments that they're they're not brilliant in their own end of the rink, but I think you'll get that with young players. So I like their curve. I like the way they're headed. And again, I don't think he brings foot speed, and I don't think he brings offense. Does he bring a better face-off? Sure. Does he bring a better penalty killing? Sure. I'm not an NHL general manager, but I can't go find a penalty killer and a face-off guy who isn't going to cost me $5.5 million for the remainder of this year, and then another $5.5 million next year. Phillip's the only guy that can kill penalties and be good in the dot. I'd rather stick with the $1 million of Joe Veleno. And both of them are struggling offensively. To bring another body to cut at the expense of a young player and also limit you maybe to continue to shop going forward. No. And if you were to show up, I would not be coming back on this podcast yelling and screaming. I just don't see the need to bring this player back to Montreal.
I think Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon have been very consistent in their decision-making. He doesn't fit what the Canadians have been trying to do. You see even the guys they picked up on the offseason, whether it's Dobson or Veleno or anyone else for that matter, they all fit a certain age group, a certain speed that they want to have. They want to play fast. I think, unfortunately, Phil Danault doesn't fit the mold of what Jeff Gordon or Kent Hughes want to do, and that's been very consistently shown in all the decisions, player personnel-wise, that these two guys have done.
I agree. I think there's 0% chance almost that this happens. It's something that was people. It's easy to see. He's good in the face-off circle, and we were talking just about how bad this team could look at times defensively, and he kind of brings that element back of he's that type of player who can shore things up on the bottom six because things have been kind of dicey there with all the injuries and people playing all over the place, but. At the end of the day, I don't see it. I don't see him fitting Ken Hughes or Jeff Gordon's vision whatsoever. And he takes up a spot. And that's one of the most important parts is that what do you do with him? You already have a Josh Anderson and a Brendan Gallagher kind of there that are kind of just taking up place. And then you're going to add someone else to the mix and kind of just hope that it works out. I agree. I don't think that it's possible, but I want to know what you guys, the listeners, think of Phillip Danault as a potential reunion with the Montreal Canadiens. Let us know in the comments. Let us know at the Starters 690, and of course, tune in to Simon 10 to noon on TSN 690 every Saturday and Sunday. Thanks, gentlemen.
Ciao, boys.
Have a good night.